question of whether or not money can ever truly buy us happiness has been explored throughout cinematic history, and everything from It's a Wonderful Life to Jerry Maguire to Love Don't Cost a Thing. And in Aziz Ansari's directorial debut, he is looking to answer the same question but for a modern audience. But can a big budget Hollywood-made comedy explore the struggle of surviving as a gig economy worker in this day and age with any level of sincerity? Or is the joke on us? Hi, my name is Emily, or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and this is my review of Good Fortune. Hello fellow movie lover, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for checking out my video. This video will be spoiler free, so let's get into it. A well-meaning but inept angel named Gabriel meddles in the lives of a struggling gig worker and a wealthy venture capitalist. The film is written and directed by Aziz Ansari and stars Aziz Ansari, Seth Rogen, Keke, Keanu Reeves, Sandra Oh, and many more. Let's start with the performances for this film because that was something I was so curious about, especially seeing a stacked cast like this one. I was curious how they were going to mesh the different styles and comedic timings of these comedy heavy hitters. That is usually something that can be the downfall of some movies, is just you have a lot of funny people, but you don't know how to bring them together. And something that I can attest to with Good Fortune is just how well each of these characters feels like it infuses the comedic timing and instincts of each of these actors, and it does it so well. Let's start with Aziz Ansari, who plays Arj. Arj is a film editor working and living in Los Angeles who's come into some tough times and is now resorted to living out of his car. He's also doing some gig work like DoorDash food delivery or TaskRabbit, which is doing tasks in someone's household for them, or even things like waiting in line for someone else who doesn't want to wait in line to get their own pastries at a popular cafe in LA. I've personally never had the privilege of using such an app, but I'm sure it exists. What I really appreciate though about Ansari's portrayal of Arj is a flawed character. He has his vices, he has his wants, and it's never punishing him for wanting these material things. And it's also never making light of his situation or punching down. I think that was a really good distinction for this film to make, especially given that it is a comedy, to make sure that we are never laughing at his situation, but we are using his situation as a jumping off point to create this comedy of errors, this kind of like Freaky Friday meets the Florida Project type movie where you are struck with this question about like what it means to have true happiness and can material things do that for you. So I really appreciate that the humor is never punching down on him. It's never targeting his situation, and dually so, the film is shedding a light on a population of Los Angeles that is highly overlooked, glossed over, or just straight up made to be invisible. The dehumanization of people who are facing housing insecurity is a real issue, and being able to see Arj as a fully fleshed person who is just trying to do his best, but the universe just keeps punishing people who don't have access to material things. For example, when your car gets towed and you have to not only pay for the tickets that got your car to get towed, but also pay for every night that your car has to be in the lot before you can get your car back. It's a system that is made to punish people for being poor, and this movie does a really great job of putting you in the reality of that situation, but never punching down or making fun of it. But the true comedy of this movie exists in the form of a comedy of errors, and that comes into play when the other characters are introduced. Enter Seth Rogen, who plays Jeff. So Jeff is a venture capitalist who hires Arj to be one of his TaskRabbits who come like clean his garage for him, and that's where they meet, they hit it off, and that's when Arj is offered the opportunity to become Jeff's personal assistant for a week. Now, the way Seth Rogen plays Jeff is so Seth Rogen. He is so aloof, he's so out of touch with everybody else, and that aligns so well with his character because he's this venture capitalist like tech bro who is like a man child just living in a big mansion, and he has access to all of these goofy things and nice things that he doesn't really think twice of or never really considers the level of privilege that he has access to. And him, in contrast with Arj, who is someone who's just trying to keep his head above water, is the perfect setup for what the angel Gabriel, Keanu Reeves' character, is looking to do. So Keanu Reeves' character, Gabriel, the angel, is like an angel in training. He's not fully fleshed out yet. He has very little tiny wings because he hasn't really proven himself as an angel just yet. And he's specifically the angel of driving and texting. So let's say you're driving and you're on your phone, which again, you shouldn't be, but you somehow get the urge to like look up at a certain point right before you get into any kind of accident. That's the angel Gabriel tapping you on your shoulder to alert you before any collision can take place. And so that's how Keanu Reeves' Gabriel comes into Arj's life when he's doing one of these tasks, and he sees just how miserable Arj is. Like Arj is literally facing down some really dark demons, thinking about exiting this world, and Gabriel feels like he should step in. even though he has no authority and honestly not enough forethought to actually intervene in any kind of meaningful way. But what does he do? He intervenes and he takes it upon himself to switch Arj and Jeff. And Gabriel is just hoping that now that they've switched places a la Freaky Friday, Arj will come to realize that he doesn't really need all these material things to be happy. But of course, this is a comedy of errors, so Arj is quick to admit that this is the life, that having the money has solved almost all of his problems, and Gabriel's plan backfires. What is sensational about Keanu Reeves' performance as the angel Gabriel is that it was a role that was perfectly made for him. Like, not only is he like evoking the Constantine garb with the jacket and the wings, but he is so perfectly sincere and innocent and just somebody who is genuinely motivated by goodwill and the want to help others. And the way that he brings that to his character Gabriel is so perfect. Even though he has good intentions, things backfire in his face in a big way. And what makes the comedy in this film so magnificent is the balancing act between Jeff and Arj and Gabriel and the ways that they are just trying to navigate life and figure out this entire situation. Like, it's not Arj's fault that money did solve his problems, but now they're in a situation where Arj has to be able to say that he is excited and willing to go back to his regular life for him to switch back with Jeff. And that is the crux of the conflict throughout this film. I would be remiss if I didn't mention just how phenomenal Keke Palmer is in this movie as Elena. She is a little bit more of a dramatic first type role for her. She does have her comedic moments, but this is a more honest, stripped back kind of performance for her. She plays Elena, who is the love interest for Arj, and you have Elena, who is in a similarly financially tough situation as Arj, but she does not see the world in the same way. And I found her character and her outlook on life to be a very compelling counterpoint to this question of, can money buy you happiness? I do wish that her character was a little bit more fleshed out, because I did find her perspective to be a lot more fascinating and really elevate the conversation of material things and happiness and what it means to be human in a way that you only kind of scratch the surface with the main trio. But ultimately, I think having such a wide cast of characters with such differing viewpoints on what it means to be human and what it means to explore life and your need for material things to survive was such a great choice. And I love the way that Ansari writes these characters with these actors in mind and really plays to their strengths. The cinematography of this film is absolutely gorgeous, and it justifies it being a theatrical release. I know some people might say, like, I don't want to go see a comedy in a theater. I'd rather just watch it at home. But you would miss a chance to see some really stunning imagery and lighting. It is lit by Adam Newport Barrera, who was the cinematographer for the film. He's worked on a lot of TV projects like Euphoria, The Bear, The Studio, and he was a DP for Kendrick Lamar and SZA's music video for Luther. And the way that they light LA with all of these contrasting colors and these beautiful, bold choices in the colors, nothing felt like a safe or easy choice. Everything was very evocative lighting scenarios, very brilliantly displayed. And I love that it didn't just heighten what LA was. LA still felt like Los Angeles. It felt like this real place that I live in, but it also felt like there was a distinctive artistic direction to give it a certain look. And I appreciate that this movie didn't just rest on the comedy, that it wanted to push itself visually as well. What I found interesting about the pacing for this film is that you can definitely feel the stretch that Aziz Ansari is experiencing as he makes this leap from writing for television to writing for a feature film. There's big chunks of chapters in this movie where we get to a place where you're ready for the other shoe to drop. It takes a long time for the movie to get going, to get to that switch that is the main conflict of the film. But again, I do appreciate the setup to spend some time with Arj and get into the reality of his life and what he's experiencing before the big switch. So it's really interesting that they set up so much of Arj and Jeff's character before we even get to that point. As far as the themes go, I think this movie is really bold, and it goes beyond just, can money buy you happiness? It goes into what it means to be human. And this film doesn't just reach for an easy or predictable answer. I really like that this movie was able to struggle with that a little bit and, really present the idea that sometimes material things can afford you some level of happiness, and you shouldn't be vilified for wanting material things. You are not a bad guy for wanting access to safety and housing and good restaurants and fancy shirts. The premise and the way that these characters are set up will have you thinking you know exactly where this movie is going, but there are a lot of surprises along the way. It's not only asking, can money buy you happiness, but it's also digging into what makes life worth living. Ultimately, I found the movie to be a very fun, feel-good movie. There is high-quality laughs. The cinematography is gorgeous, which justifies it having a theatrical release and for you to see it in theaters. And it isn't afraid to acknowledge that the state of things and how capitalism affects every facet of living. It's a system designed to remove as much joy from our life as possible. And this movie is looking to reclaim a little bit of that. And as a feature debut from Ansari, I'm enamored with his storytelling prowess and his strength to write these different characters, especially considering the cast in mind for the particular project. And on the Movie Mija meter, I give Good Fortune 4 out of 5 stars. And there you have it. That is my review of Good Fortune. Thank you so much for watching my video, especially if you watched it all the way to the end. If you made it this far, you should definitely consider liking and subscribing to my channel. You get one new movie review from me every single week. And if you want even more movie news, reviews, and personal insights, you can follow me at Movie Mija on Letterboxd, Instagram, and TikTok. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.